Well, greetings to you, lovers of fantasy, denizens of Varchal, wherever you might hail from. This is a short video to give you a quick update on where Andy and I are at the moment with the writing of the new book in the Black Hallows series, which is entitled Destiny of Queens. Just to show you what it's like. Oh, apologies for that. The printout of the novel looks like that. There's a lot of material to get through, and I started on page 1 yesterday, and it kind of looks like this. Already there's loads of scribblings and I'm having to rewrite a lot. I'm looking at things like clunky sentences, whether there are plot holes, inconsistencies. There's a heck of a lot to do there, but I've done it before, and although there's 174,000 words to get through, goodness knows how many pages, it's the next phase. It will result in draft 2, which will then be put together and formatted and sent off to beta readers. Now, if you don't know what a beta reader is, beta is the second letter of the Greek alphabet. So I guess somewhere there must be an alpha reader. Maybe alpha refers to the people who eventually get to look at the finished product. I don't know. I don't know where the phrase came from. But basically these are people who volunteer to take part in what we call a test run, if you like, to read through this second draft, which has been cleaned up to a large extent, but may still have problems with it. We give them a month to read it and then to give Andy and I feedback, and the hope is that they might be able to pick out things that we have missed, things that they think may just not quite work, or little tweaks that need to take place, or who knows, even major holes or chapters that need to be rewritten. We did this with the first book and it was very helpful indeed. We're looking to expand this group of beta readers, and so to that end, if you would like to take part in that, first of all, it's quite a big undertaking, and we're always very grateful for the effort that people put into that. But what you need to do is to join our Facebook group, which I think is called Readers from Varchal or something like that. I'll put the link in the description, and what you need to do is to go along to that. You kind of need to have read the first book, and if you've read the first book, you'll hopefully appreciate the second one. There's a couple of questions to answer there, and then you're let in, and all you need to do then is just respond to the post that's on there. I'll get in touch and we'll arrange for a copy, a second draft copy, to come through to you. On the subject of reading the first book, which is called Cradle of Darkness, Andy and I are thinking of doing a promotion later on this month, and for the first time we're going to offer the book free for a limited period, only 5 days. Chance for you to snap it up, get it read, and either join the beta reader group or maybe hold off until the second book comes out in the summer. Or if you are that way inclined, and I hope that some of you would be, you can buy the book. It's only $2.99, which for 140,000 words and who knows how many pages is a lot of value for money. Let me show you what that looks like. Here we go. This is a paperback copy. It came out last November, and that's what it looks like. Nice big print on the inside. There are maps and contents at the front, which give you an overview of what the Imperius Crescent looks like. The paperback does cost a fair bit more. That's due to Amazon's printing costs. Not that we make much profit from it. But what money we do get from it really does help us in funding the next book, because we have all sorts of overheads like cover design, editing, the cost of ongoing email campaigns. There's a whole host of things, and really our aim is just to be able to plough the money into the next book so that we can get the book out there and hopefully increase the audience. So what else? Well, as I'm speaking, outside the snow is falling, so it's definitely got that feel of a day where you just want to hunker down inside. I'm certainly not going anywhere. I'm going to be producing this video, putting it out on YouTube, and putting a newsletter out as well. That's my job for the day. But I thought it might be interesting to give you folks perhaps a few ideas on what to expect in the next book, Destiny of Queens. And there are a few new plot lines which Andy and I think are quite exciting, and I'm going to mention 3 of them. There's possibly some mini spoilers in there, nothing that would devastate your appreciation of the book if you listen to them, but I thought I'd just flag up that warning, so that if you want your experience of reading the first book to be absolutely pristine, I would switch off now. Maybe switch off now and go to Amazon and buy the book. Okay, so what have we got planned? Well, at the end of the last book, there were a number of things kept hanging. You may remember that there was a big battle at the capital of Dragonia, Wiverneth, and on that occasion, once that was all over with, we learned that Queen Thyem had actually abdicated the throne, and we don't know what happens after that. Now, what I can say is that Thyem features very prominently in the second book, and she is involved in a whole new segment of the story, which involves an area which wasn't explored in the first book, called the Land of the Fire Guardians, or the Blasted Lands, or in their language, Sumatacroa. And it is the habitat of a race of people that weren't introduced before. They are called the Fire Guardians, or the Sumatacroans, and their job is to guard the sacred eggs of the Agnarim dragons. Now, the Agnarim are the only species, is wrong word, subspecies maybe, the subspecies of dragon which are astronomatuan in size. In other words, they're gigantic, and they're the only ones that can breathe fire. Andy and I decided that our dragons would be a little bit different in our books, in that it wasn't an automatic given that they could breathe fire, because it's kind of powerful. And if you've got a dragon on your side, you only need one of them, and you can devastate a whole army. Just look at the last 2 episodes of Game of Thrones for an example. So we didn't want the Dragonians to have too much of an upper hand. So, fire-breathing dragons are a rarity, but the Agnarim are where it happens. And none of these have actually hatched in the last 100, 200 years, and it's a great mystery. But these fire guardians, these Sumatacroans, actually look after the eggs in incubation chambers in this volcanic landscape. Only there is a problem, because they discover this great catastrophe. The egg chambers have been invaded by this mutant hybrid called the Pyradra, who seems intent on threatening the eggs. And so the Sumatacroans send out this almost telepathic message across the ether, in the hope that any remaining Agnarim might be able to come to their aid. Now, of course, the only one left that we're aware of is Agathan, the great dragon that lives beneath the mountain of Frostgaunt in the northern wastes, and that featured heavily in the first book. She receives this message but can't do a lot about it, because she's basically hunkered down in this mountain, and unbeknownst to her, her distress at receiving this call sends out shockwaves in the dream world. Now, of course, the dream world can only be inhabited by the avatars of most living things, but also the shamans of the Gigantes. And Melisandre, who is daughter of Wobas, has taken on the mantle of the new shaman, and she picks up this distressed Agathan. Can't quite understand what's going on, but she knows that it's urgent. And so a mission is organised which involves her, Thyem, and her sidekick, stroke partner, Sistra. And I'll stop there because any more would reveal too much, but that's one major part of the storyline. We've also got the introduction of a new character, a very mysterious figure who is enigmatically called the Prophet. And he has these mesmeric powers. He's able to influence people. It's not quite hypnotism, but it's on that sort of level. He also is able to detect things at a distance. He knows what's going on, although not in too much detail. It's not like far-seeing as such, but it's certainly a very potent gift. And his whole philosophy, as we start to learn, is very sinister. He doesn't just want to have his own influence brought to bear, but he basically is looking for world domination. So you can guess what sort of characters in real life he might be based on. But he's sort of going the softly approach of trying to unveil himself amongst the kingdoms of the Imperious Crescent. And to do that, he has to influence key figures. And so you see him approaching unknown members of the Caldorans, of the Cuscosians, and of the Dragonians. And what he wants to do is recruit these members to infiltrate those kingdoms and bring about their collapse. And he starts to work together with them and produce this secret society called the Quadricle. And again, I will stop there because I don't want to reveal too much. The third new line of the story is to do with Queen Maren, who is Thyam's sister. And after the battle at Wyverneth and the other skirmishes that occurred in the first book, the dragons have been severely depleted. What to do to try and replenish those numbers, because dragons take a long time to grow, and Dragonia feels that their defences are down. Well, there's a place in the northeast of the map of the Imperious Crescent called Agris, which was an ancient dragon school, for want of a better word. They used to train dragons, but particularly the Agnarim in times past. But they fell silent over the last century, and it's unknown as to why that's occurred. So Maren takes it upon herself, with her bodyguard Sashame, to pay a trip to this place to find out what's gone on. I probably can't reveal too much more along those lines as well for reasons of spoilers. But needless to say, it plays a major part in how the Kingdom of Dragonia might possibly be reconstructed and achieve the heights of glory that it once did. Apart from those new storylines, there are other things that have been left over. You may remember Tumar, who is a blueskin, derogatorily called a troll by those who ought to know better. That is, if they don't want to get slammed up against a wall and pulverised into a pulp of meat. He's rather a vicious character. But at the end of the book, he's there, and Etisora is there in a certain form. That is all that I will say. So what happens to those two? What happens to that partnership? You find out in the second book. And the other thing that was left hanging was, of course, these horrible, ghastly, gremlin, goblin, evil dwarf-like characters called the Caldorans. And they had burrowed their way with their machine called the Cave Crawler, and they were on the threshold of Castle Cuscosa, about to exact their revenge. What does that come to? What does it mean for Cuscosia? Does it mean the overthrow of Eator and his remaining Praetorian Guard? What exactly is going to happen there? You find out pretty early on in the second book. Well, I've rambled on for long enough. Hopefully that whets your appetite for reading the first book and looking forward to the second. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. Put your comments in below. Tell me what you thought about this. If there's enough positive feedback, I'll do another one. Maybe delve a bit more into the past of the lore of Varchal and the world building that goes behind the whole Black Hallows series. I'll also put a link to the Varchal Readers group. Please join up if you've got a mind to do that. So like, subscribe, support us in whatever way you can. We very much appreciate it. So I will say farewell from me and Andy, who is not present, but is working around in the background to give his own input into the second draft. See you soon. Bye-bye.